When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.
Back at it again with another edition of the Shades of Blue Soccer Podcast. And we are brought to you by Core Outdoor Equipment. You see Core at the stadium, you see Core in the plaza. Core is all over Sporting Kansas City's season and the soccer scene in Kansas City this year. So go out and support them because they support us and they support our soccer clubs. And, you know, we've got Carrie Robinson here. We've got David Greenwald. We have Thad Bell and Robert Russert is your host tonight. Cody is off somewhere doing Lord knows what, but we're going to make sure that he gets to listen to this podcast because we're going to throw some Easter eggs out there that he better catch on to because we'll let him know he wasn't listening if he's not.
Can we do what is Cody doing right now instead of podcasting wrong answers only?
Okay, let's do it. What is Cody Bradley doing right now? David, I'm going to go to you first.
Wrong answers only? He's on a date.
Carrie Robinson, who, by the way, has either been yelling at a lot of people to get the heck off the streetcar because she needs a ride to the current stadium, or Lord knows doing what else. We could do another segment on Carrie, what got her voice in the condition it's in. But Carrie, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to say he's at the Royals game.
Okay, Rose game. All right. All right. I assume you're right in the plane tonight. And
Wait,
Thad,
actually, I don't know.
Thad, where is
Honestly, mine was going to be a date as well, but David really just snatched it.
Thad Bell, where is Cody Bradley tonight?
You know, the sad thing is, as much as we like Cody, because we do actually like Cody and we love to give him shit, all three of us first thought was, wrong answer is he's out on a date with somebody who's nice looking and nice to him. So that's a little sad.
So he's on a pity date, is what you're saying.
I have a new one. Wrong answers only. He is buying a bed frame.
Go ahead, Thad. What do you think that Cody's not doing tonight?
He is not celebrating Manchester City. He is not happy that Pep left. He is... Okay, I'm out.
Thad, somehow, some way in those three segments, you kind of sort of implied what I was going to say and stole my idea. I was going to say he was on an airplane headed to Manchester, England, and applying for a new job with Manchester City. So, I mean,
he does know word. I think if he's going there, he's probably just trying to convince Pep to stay.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. But David, we were going to talk about this later, but let's talk about it now. You gave Cody a little bit of crap in our Slack channel today about City. But, Hotspurs, they stayed up. How you feeling?
Better than West Ham fans. We're still going to be in the Prem next year.
Exactly. Let's see. West Ham got relegated. Who else was relegated?
Wolves and Burnley? Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds right to me. Yeah.
David just doesn't care as long as it's not Spurs.
Well, they got relegated. They got relegated like so long ago that like it wasn't really a question. So I kind of stopped paying attention to the bottom of the table. West Ham, Burnley, Wolves.
There we go.
Wolves won 3 games.
Well, as we know, there is no relegation and promotion in MLS, and a good thing because maybe we would have been in that danger zone here at the first half. But Sporting last night, a loss at home against New York Red Bulls, the baby Bulls, if you will. Um, could have been 3 wins on a row, though. Maybe should have been. Sporting won every statistical category last night. We had some chances, didn't we, guys? And, Thad, what were your thoughts on that match? Should we have won that one?
You're right that they were better statistically in most every category, not quite all of them, but most every one of them, but they couldn't finish. Uh, Taylor Calhera had a couple of chances. I think Calvin maybe had another one. I forget who all had chances, but they just couldn't finish chances. I think that leads into might need somebody who's a little more clinical up there, or at least more used to getting a chance to shoot. They haven't really had a lot of that this year.
Yeah, I think the XG for Calvin was 0.58. Of course, he did score one. He did miss, gosh, what I figured a sitter. He just basically whiffed on it. David Calhera, 0.51. XG was his, just below Calvin's. What were your thoughts on Taylor last night?
So, I mean, I think he had an easier chance to finish, like a more traditional chance. Calvin's goal was running in behind the defense and just getting a flick over the keeper's head, which takes a lot of like touch and order of luck. Calhera had the ball in the box unmarked, took an extra touch and just kind of punted it right into somebody. But one of the things that I've noticed over the last few games and something the team's talked about a lot is that Calhera's been very good for kind of triggering the press and doing some of that dirty work that doesn't show up in the score sheet. So while I mean, I'm sure everybody would prefer if he had scored, um, he is doing a lot of that like, kind of gritty work. And the last 3 games we've played better.
Yeah, he does some running that keeps the center backs occupied as well. So, yeah, not a flashy guy for sure, but, it's been effective the last 3 games with him up there starting with Decky for sure. Carrie, what did you see from where you were at, and where were you at? Because you were in the stands last match and we won, correct? But you were
Yes.
in the cauldron this time or what?
Yeah, I was in the cauldron.
Yeah.
My usual seats was not with my dad this game. Which let me just say, I don't know why my voice is like this. Talked about it on Keeping Current that like I think I was sick. I think it's just allergies or something because like my throat was like the only symptom, nothing else. And I feel like there was nothing really like to cheer about in yesterday's game besides that one goal, and we were still like down. So don't know why my voice is like this. There was no reason for it to be gone, but it is. Um, there was a few points in that first half, where it was Calhera and, um, what is the DJ's name?
Decky?
Nope,
No.
nope,
The
Calvin
DJ?
Harris. Calvin Harris. God, I just forgot that.
Wow. Wow.
They had some really nice plays, on that left side, in front of me, and I actually turned to my friend and I was like, because this friend was also in Chicago, watching that terrible game, and I was like, "We actually look like we're playing pretty soccer right now."
I
There's
mean,
nice there's
it's
nice
all
movements on the
relative.
ball. Yeah. No, I mean, there were definitely like, we've looked at this team this entire first half, and we're like, "This barely looks like a team. It looks like a group of guys that were thrown on the field together." There was actual
Not far.
movement. It seemed like there was some good, movement, flowility, on and off the ball. They started to really get into realizing where that next player is gonna be at, versus they seem to be connecting as one unit this game a little bit more, and I mean, the last few games as well, but I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit on as we kinda wrap up this entire first half of the season.
So, David, did you see what Carrie saw, or did you see a club simply that they allowed the first goal again, and maybe they start to slide toward that, groove they were in before, where they allow the first goal and they're like, "Oh, we're in trouble now." What were your thoughts?
No, I think they responded well to the first goal. It was obviously a disappointment to start the match 3 minutes in with a goal. And it was a particularly bad turnover, and then it wasn't great defense necessarily to stop it from happening. But I thought the team responded well. You and I were sitting next to each other in the press box. We had the better chances in the first half, and then we had a lapse in judgment with 2 minutes left in the half and, gave up that second goal. But if you didn't see the score line, right? If you showed up late and you went to get a hot dog a little early and you watched the rest of the game, you would have thought that Sporting was winning that match, outside those two individual moments. So I thought the team responded well. They didn't, drop their heads. And then they came out of the second half pushing really hard. And I thought they rebounded well from going down 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, the first half, agreed, of course. They were not moving the ball quickly enough. I think you and I commented on that a couple of times, and not finding the open man quick enough either with their passing. And then we kind of got in that turnover mode for a little bit, giving the ball away cheaply, giving them some opportunities. And that's maybe what led to both goals, actually, which what the second one came at the end of the first half. Always terrible timing for that. But yeah, not bad at all, and I tell you what, I don't know if you guys noticed at the end of the game, there were players who just laid down on the pitch, just spread eagle, just they were exhausted at the end of the game, and Calvin Harris mentioned that as well in his post-game comments, but, the effort was certainly there.
Yeah, the effort was there, and I think these last 3 games, you have seen the effort, the fight, the physicalness, all those things that you need from a team that's struggling to be good. Zoe has made a huge impact. We asked Somebody asked Decky last night, what's been the difference in these last 3 games? He said, having Zoe back, just plain and simple. Decky doesn't really like BS a lot of stuff, right?
Right.
He just like, no, that's not the way it is, right? It's he's when he's asked, he's like, yeah, having Zoe back, it has been big, and he's right. And having Zoe, I mean, Zoe's not the best player on the pitch by skill or anything else, but he fights every single second, and he's not wore down by the losses yet, So he comes on, he fights, he makes those runs. I also think these last 3 games, Lasse has been better, and I would like to say that that's because he's had Zoe next to him, running his ass off and pushing him and being physical and kind of dragging Lasse along to be an MLS player and not a player somewhere in Northern Europe.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about this a little bit later, but, that midfield, we're talking about, those 2 members, and then Manu came on later. Eventually, maybe all 3 are gonna be on the pitch at the same time. We'll have to see. We'll talk about that later, but, we could have had a victory last night because all the chances we had, but also an opportunity missed by the referee, perhaps. Did the Red Bull keeper handle the ball outside of the box? If you've looked on social media, I think there's a freeze frame that shows he indeed did. David, would that have been a turning point in the match? Would it have been an opportunity for us to put one away?
I mean, it definitely would have changed something, right? And it's a pretty obvious missed call. I think, there's not a good camera angle necessarily for it on a traditional broadcast, because they're gonna be on the sides. You and I couldn't really tell exactly where he touched everything from our vantage point. Thad probably has the best view of it down on the field.
It was right
Um,
in front of me.
Carrie, was he outside the box?
He was. And it did take a second for everyone to realize. I will say that. But you could definitely hear it in the stands.
So we need to clarify because this has been an issue in MLS a number of times, a couple of times in Miami games, I think. But it doesn't matter if the goalkeeper is out of the box. It's the ball, right? It's just like if the ball's out of bounds or not, it's got to be the whole ball that's out. Part of the circumference of the ball is on the line, it's in. So just clarification on that. But yeah, Thad, did you have a view of that at all?
No, I didn't really, because I was on the far end and on the caddy corner from where that happened. But when you say the whole keeper, it doesn't have to be the whole keeper. He can have his hand outside the box.
The whole ball.
The whole ball has to be out. Yes. I'm just
Yeah,
making
right.
sure that we're on the same page and that we didn't mislead somebody. And from the one of the angles I saw, I would have to slow it down to absolutely tell for sure that because he looked like he was swiping it at one point or trying to get rid of it or something. I'm pretty sure he was outside of the box. But I'm also going to say with where the the ref was, I can understand how he may not have seen that.
But don't be nice to
So
the ref. Be hateful.
He let a
Hey,
lot
what
of
about
things slide this game, which
yeah,
I was surprised. A lot of fouls.
but he was pretty even about it.
He was.
I thought
yeah, but he
that's
called the
again, that's what you want from a ref is that they're pretty even. I still want all refs to call very similar, like, like s- we'll talk about NWSL later, but like an NWSL ref, a couple weeks ago was given uh, restarts and cards for not getting rid of the ball fast enough, and then today they couldn't have cared less. So
But what was that call at, injury time was supposed to be what, 6 minutes, and then the referee called it early, and everybody's like, "Well, what's going on? Why did you just blow the whistle?"
as we've heard from people before, math is hard.
Yes, it
M
is.
Math is hard. I mean,
He's going back to
time
Duolingo.
time is also hard,
Yes,
you know?
time
Time
counting.
time can be challenging.
But at least he did let them play an extra minute. Like it really mattered. But you can't really go to mini games and be like, yeah, I saw the ref mess up so bad that he corrected himself and said, my bad, let's keep going.
Yeah. No, and that's true. Again, fairness to him. He corrected himself. Now, it changes how the game is flowing and all that stuff. But yeah, at least he did try to do the right thing.
All right, so speaking of flow, Calvin Harris seems to be in a bit of a flow on the field these days. We talked about how he's missed some opportunities, and last night was not the first time he's done that. Calvin Harris, he's a valuable player on this team right now. He gives that pace, right? And some good running out the box. If Decky's coming back for the ball, him and maybe Calhera are both stretching the defense, kind of sucking in toward the middle a little bit more to attract those center backs. But Calvin Harris has played for three different clubs now. This is his sixth season, I believe, in MLS. 13 goals, 13 assists in 115 games. Is he a player who we're going to stick with for second half? Are we going to look to replace him? Has Calvin Harris hit his ceiling, or is he have up? You know, can he be moving up and raising his ceiling from this point forward? David, what are your thoughts on Mr. Harris?
I think there's a really good chance he just kind of is who he is at this point. Um, you know, I I hesitate to say he should be used as like a second half substitute, to run at tired legs because he's super fast. And so conventional wisdom would say, you throw him on in the 65th minute and you let him go torture, an outside back whose legs are going to be real heavy. The problem is that Calvin is very wasteful with his chances. He's not a clinical finisher. Um, and late in a game, you want somebody who's more clinical who can put those chances away. The upside to Calvin is he's so fast. He and Capita are in many ways the same player. They're so fast that they put a lot of pressure on, but they're going to need 5 or 6 chances to put one away. Um, and we're currently creating those, right? We're hitting balls to them where they can run into space and they can create chaos and do something dangerous. But um, it's like watching Dom Dwyer and Jerso. They're gonna take 8 shots and eventually one will go in.
If you can get him enough chances, it's fine. I mean, I like Calvin, and I think that on a better team, he scores more. But with Colorado last year, because yeah, he's only scored 13. It's 13 goals and 13 assists, like you said. However, it has been over the last 4 years, 1 goal, 4 goals, 5 goals last year. So it has
Hmm.
steadily increased. His playing time actually went down last year. So in 2024, he had 4 goals. In 2025, he had five. Not significantly different, but both for Colorado teams. And we know that that was really not a greatly coached team at that time. But going forward, the
Real quick, you said that you like Calvin, and I did too until last night in the locker room. We were chatting after the game, and we talked about the game, and then I just said, hey, because Calvin's English, you watching the Premier League tomorrow? What do you think's going to happen? And he said, I hope Tottenham goes down because my boys at Arsenal already lifted the trophy, and I don't want to divide like our fans or the listeners or anything, but screw that guy. I don't care how big of a rivalry it is. That was mean, and I don't like Calvin right now. He's on my shit list.
Well, I really don't care which team in Premier League goes down. This pod doesn't cover that.
But my feelings care, Thad. My feelings care.
I do. I do want your feelings to be fine.
Good. Okay.
So anyway, Calvin is one of the fastest guys in the league. I mean, not like, I don't know, top 3 or something, but he was the fastest guy that was in the free agent pool. He's been in one of the top speeds in runs in MLS play this year. In top, meaning like top 10, him and Capita both. And if you could have 2 guys like that can put pressure on and can feed them a little bit better and a little bit more often and have some possession and all these other factors. But he is also a player that could be replaced by somebody who's better than him, who's kind of fast and a little more clinical, and I'm not gonna argue about it. It would be nice to have a third winger that is in that same vein, and you go with who's hot, or you rotate him. Afrifa is not quite that guy.
Let me take the pro Calvin side of this.
I
Okay.
think I did.
Okay. Well, I'm also gonna
Okay.
add on to that. Okay. Look, we all know this first half of the season has not been great for literally anyone. But guys, let's look at the last 3 games. 2 goals, 1 assist, and against Galaxy, and then he had one of the best ratings in the Austin game, and then had another goal this game. I mean, this has been our best run of the form of this club this season so far, and he has been a top player of that.
The Calvin Harris era.
Thank you. We gotta work on that with the alliterations.
Yeah, we'll work on that. What do you think, Robert? I mean, are you a Calvin Harris supporter at this point?
Calvin kind of reminds me, Jerso was mentioned. I think Dom Dwyer was mentioned, unfortunately. But he kind of reminds me of and I hate to bring this up because of the tragedy, a Gotti Kinda, as far as his persona, who else am I thinking of that? Oh, yeah, of course, Cody's favorite striker, who would smile all the time, who's no longer in the league. He's just such a great personality. He's always smiling. He's in a good mood no matter what. And I feel bad when I say, "Hey, you missed an opportunity. How'd you feel about that?" in the locker room. But I think he's pretty much at his ceiling. You're right, Carrie. He's been a great contributor, but I just don't see much from him above what he's shown. And he's a average MLS winger. Provides that speed, which speed kills. That's a great thing. But yeah, he's not going to be finishing off many more opportunities because he's just not that kind of a guy. Um, and he could be a little stronger on the ball with his feet. But he's good to have right now. But I think we can find, as you alluded to, that a third winger who could maybe take his position. Maybe
Yeah,
we'll see. Yeah.
and or rotate or whatever. But we're in the sad state right now, and we'll talk more about all this stuff later, I'm sure. An average MLS winger is one of our stars.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that kind of leads us on to the next question mark. And these guys are people we're talking about because they have performed well, because they have shown well, maybe not consistently. And that's Manu Garcia, especially a couple of games ago where he just looked lethargic, like he was in the doldrums of loss, wasn't playing terribly well. We know that David is not the biggest fan of Manu, though he likes him. He does still think he's a DP level player, even a TAM level player. But last night, guys, he came on and he changed the game as he did the previous game as well. He certainly has the skills that a lot of players on our team don't. Provide the assist, maybe should have had 1 or 2 others. We'll start this time with Carrie. Carrie, what are your thoughts on Manu? Is he a super sub? Is that the role he should continue playing, or has he shown enough lately to maybe be considered back for that starting lineup?
No, I think we gotta keep him as that super sub. I mean, you just gotta it sucks because we are now entering, like, a 2-month break where the players get to have a few weeks off, then come back basically for another preseason. And so we don't get to keep this run of form going right now, with, the momentum of not back-to-back 5+ goal losses. But I think based off what we've seen in the last 3 games or so, we gotta keep him as that sub. Especially whenever you get down or you're constantly, like, going down in the first 15 minutes of the game, even 10 minutes of the game, a lot of the times, he he doesn't seem to carry himself as much as sure, it happens week after week, but at that point, like, you should almost expect it. You just gotta figure out how to go from that and not just kinda drag your heels.
So one question here, as far as the Manu, we mentioned to their call, lose too much when Manu comes on defensively.
So, I mean, we definitely do lose a lot with Manu versus Zoe. Now, the opposite is Zoe doesn't offer nearly as much moving forward. Um, but, when we talk about, is Manu a DP player? And it was such a peculiar game because Manu comes in, immediately makes an impact, gets that assist, right? But then Manu didn't do a whole lot after. There were a whole bunch of set pieces that Manu did not execute particularly well. He was slow to deliver the ball on certain things. He wasn't creating those chances the way that I'm looking for. And before Carrie yells at me, when I'm talking about the level needed for this position, for us to be successful, right? I've run the numbers for this year and only this year against some other, high level creative midfielders, right, in the league. So Manu Garcia, Alexei Marinchuk from Atlanta, Martin Ojeda from Orlando, Paxton Aronson, Jordy Mihailovic, right? Manu's goals plus assists per 90, 0.36. So he's going to get a goal or an assist, 0.3 every 90, right? Marinchuk for Atlanta, 0.69. Martin Ojeda, 0.55. Aronson, 0.54. Jordy Mihailovic, 0.68. If you compare him to some of the guys of yore, if you will, when the league was talking about the most elite players, right? Lucas Zelarayan for Columbus Crew in 2021, 0.51. Miguel Almiron for Atlanta United, 0.62. Carl's Heel for the Revs, 0.55. Evander this year, 0.97 goals and assists per 90. So when we're talking about what does that look like, right? So Evander this year, another DP player in this league in that same position. Manu has 1 goal, 3 assists. Evander has 9 goals, 6 assists. And they don't play in the exact same system. They don't play in the exact same setup. And I understand all of that. But when we're talking about is the multi-million-dollar contract, is the DP contract for Manu good enough? It doesn't matter that he's our second best player. If our ceiling is that low, he's not the guy delivering the goals and the assists from that position that we need if we want to be MLS Cup contenders. Because Zelarayan won a cup. Almiron won a cup. Carlos Heel, I think, won a supporter shield maybe. Those guys are making plays and making the team so much better that they were undeniably good. And I don't see that out of Manu.
I mean, and we do lose a lot, I think, defensively when he's out there as well. That man just, like, is afraid to press. But, I did wanna hop on with the set pieces. We should not be letting Jake Davis take a set piece. Let me just say that.
Who took the one last night that went slammed right into the wall, like right into that guy's face?
That was
It
Jake.
it was Jake?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that could be effective in itself. I mean, you
Concuss somebody.
yeah, I
They
mean, if
were
you can do it early, you can wear them down over time.
I will say in the pregame, because the Red Bulls were shooting at the Colton side, 2 people did end up getting hit in the head. That one, the New York Red Bulls training staff had to come out and, like, do, like, an assessment to make sure that she was okay. But they both had to get concussion protocols.
I keep that
Wow.
head on a swivel.
But it was the Red Bull staff came out and checked on him?
Yeah, on one of them. She was bleeding. She got, like, a cut on her nose.
Okay. Well,
But
it was good of the Red Bulls staff to do
yeah,
that, so
and the
cool.
goalkeeper gave her the training kit.
Cool.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, the Manu situation is a bit of an enigma. We're not sure what his position is because, like you said, David, he's not a true 10. He's probably an 8, but he doesn't do enough defensively to be an 8 because you have to play box to box and do both of those jobs. So he may be kind of a man without a job, and so maybe super sub right now is his best position, especially if we stay with basically 2 up front with Taylor and Decky or whoever it might end up being after the World Cup break. So he's a bit in a situation where it's not exactly clear where he fits, but he definitely has value. So that super sub role might be the way to go.
Yeah, and I would just add that I think he's good enough to be a lower level 10 in this league if you're on a team that has solid possession all the time. Because then he's going to be a little more close to the box. He doesn't have to play as much defense because you're doing the possession by passing
Yeah.
and all that sort of thing. But when your team is having to counter and you're under pressure a lot, that's where he really is sometimes a liability, not an asset. So the more possession you have, the more I think he is useful. The more, and again, it's like the same story you can say about almost every one of these players. If everybody around them's better, they're a really good player. But you still have to get everybody. You can't just say that about everybody and not improve people. So right now, he's not as good as what we would want him to be on a team that on this team.
So you're talked about if we have more possession, do you think Zoe and Lassa can be those guys that give us that possession with maybe a center back who is maybe a little better in possession, or Blorian, please be that man. What do you think?
As much as I like Zoe, I don't know if he is a possession guy in any team. Um, I still don't know enough about Lassa to tell for sure, but I think he can be. At that point, I think I move Zoe back to left back and let him destroy people from there. Because I think he's fine running into the midfield or even as a winger part time, but he's obviously not had enough playing time to have a ton of minutes and be able to make those runs because he's, as Wiki said in a couple pressers ago, they're different. They're different types of fitness for depending on which position you're in. And Zoe, as a midfielder, needs to do a lot of running, but it's more it's shorter distance on average and stuff like that. Where if you're the outside back, you got to make a lot of sprints. So he's probably better in the midfield right now in many ways.
So, segment 1, everyone, has gone on a little bit longer than we probably planned, but before we go on, let's reflect on this match with our core moment of the match. So, Carrie, I'm going to you first. What was the core moment of the match for you?
We
And it
Calvin
can't be
Harris's
the person
goal.
hitting, getting hit in the head, in the
Yeah.
pregame. Can't be that. Sorry.
Probably Calvin Harris's goal because it gave me false hope. But at the same time, like, gave me some hope, you guess. I
So
was
the
excited.
finish, it seemed reactionary just in the moment. Maybe that's what Calvin is better at. And maybe he just has to have shots where he doesn't have to think about them so much. Maybe that's what it is. All right, Thad, what was your core moment of the match?
Come back to me.
All right. David, are you ready for this?
Yeah. I have 2. The fun answer that I would like to start with is, and I'm calling the cauldron out right now, when Calvin Harris scored and they did not sing a Calvin Harris song to him. It's a missed opportunity every time, guys.
I
Every
know.
time. Do it for the man.
Hey, don't
Sing
talk to
him,
me. Talk to
sing him,
Pappas.
sing him his songs. Okay? Sing him his songs.
And
Uh,
all the other players.
Okay, we do have the same one for Capita and Afrifa. It is just this time for Africa, but insert Capita and Afrifa.
Sure, but Calvin Harris shares a name with a very famous DJ who makes great music. Just sing him the other Calvin Harris's songs. It's perfect.
There's another Calvin Harris.
Yeah, he dated Taylor Swift. He's, I think, Scottish.
Have we found love in this hopeless place yet?
Yeah, sing that. It's great. Or Match in the Summer, whatever. Um, no, unfortunately, my core moment of the game is going to be a -1. It's Wyatt Myers' truly just awful pass turnover in the midfield that led to the second goal, um, which made it go from a 1-0, we were fighting, I thought we had the better of the game, to 2-0 is the most dangerous scoreline in sports, in soccer, unless you only score 1 goal, and then you lose.
Thad, are you ready, or would you like me to go first?
I'll go, but this is probably going to be a little bit strange. It was the post-game interviews in the locker room. Several people talked to several people, but I'm going to point out two of them. One, I went to Ian James and said, I forget how I phrased it, but overall, the performance was good. And he goes, I don't think I can say that. And he goes, a few weeks ago, we'd have been happy with a 2-1 loss. But right now, that's just not acceptable. And again, maybe not his exact words, but very much that sentiment is that the team has grown over the last few games, right? They've grown. They know that they can do better, and they have played better, even if they didn't get the result this last game. And I think that's a significant moment for this team from how bad they were, right? At points, we've been looking at like, hey, they didn't look bad for 15 minutes. This team looked good for most of the game, except for two mistakes, right? One of them, a bad turnover, and then Ian was not able to defend the guy on that shot. So cool. But he knows it. So and they now feel like that getting just a performance isn't good enough. And that's a significant step for the team. The other one is just Decky being Decky. And I asked him about his being on chess.com and all that. And he said, he was happy about it. But I said, does it play like you? And he goes, no, I was very disappointed about that. And then he's headed off to go get the second marriage.
Right. Well, mine is in a similar vein, Thad, actually. Okay, folks, I know it was Star Wars night. I know the Grogu bobblehead, everybody was wanting that. But,
I didn't get one.
Yeah. Carrie, did you
I
have an
didn't
extra
want one.
one for Thad? I mean, can you make
No,
him happy?
I did not pick one up. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Nerds.
But, schools are out, more kids are available, families are a little more relaxed, but it was a good crowd last night. And Lassa LBJ, he mentioned this in his talk with me last night as well. Um, Crowd was just into it. I haven't heard the sporting Kansas City, recall be that loud in a while. And just a nice buzz around the stadium. So that was kind of the overall core moment of the match for me, just to see that. And part of that has to do with the team playing better in the last couple of weeks, I believe, as well. So good to see that last night for sure. But we have a lot to talk about in the second half. We're going to broaden our core moment of the match and do a core player of the first half as we kind of review the first half and what we can expect in the 2-month off when the transfer windows open up. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. First half, guys.
Carrie just left. We're not all back.
We're not all back, yes. Thad, you at some point warned that we hadn't hit rock bottom yet during the first part of the season. And then when we did, you said, yes, we got to do before we get the way back up. So your review of the first half of the season, I put in the rundown 3 to 5 words, but you can do more than that if you want. But just reflect in your mind on what the first half of the season was about for Sporting.
Building the base. That's all it was. And we'll talk about what we expect from this upcoming window and season and next. But the first part was just about building a base that can be built upon.
That was good.
Mass
Got
base.
the alliteration.
Well done.
I was trying. I was trying to do that.
All right, Carrie, I'm sure she went off to go and put her thinking cap on for this. But Carrie, what is your review of the first half of the season? You can do more than 3 to 5 words if you wish, just not many more.
Things out there. We came into the season without any players, basically. Just got to get people on the field. That's what it felt like for a good chunk of the season.
Okay, fair enough. And those weird sounds are continuing. Not quite sure what's going
It's
on.
the highway.
Is it? Okay.
Life
All
is
right,
just a
David,
highway.
you are up 3 to 5 words or slightly more. What are your estimation of the first half of the season?
Bad, but improving.
The old
Okay, you
BBI.
want to elaborate?
The rundown doesn't say to elaborate. It just says define it in 3 to 5 words.
Okay, elaborate just a little bit.
I mean, we've been bad. It has been really ugly, um, at times, not embarrassing for me, I'm not on the field, but embarrassing for them. Um, but the last 2 weeks, the team has showed a considerable amount of improvement. Um, they didn't have much of a preseason together. Guys are starting to gel. Capita wasn't in the team. LBJ didn't have a full preseason with the team. So to get those guys in, get them starting to understand how the league works, um, we've looked better.
For sure.
Building off of what Dad said, it's getting the building blocks in there.
So I guess I'm up, and you guys have taken most of my thoughts, of course, but I'm gonna go with one word, and it's not gonna be a positive word. I'm gonna say underwhelming. Reason being that there are some players who, you know, were underwhelming. I'm gonna, point out John Polskamp there. He did have moments. I like John. He's a great guy. He did have moments, but I think his performance, he would even admit, was, not where he wanted it to be. And maybe not so much goalkeeper play wise. Maybe he's learned some lessons about maybe leadership and how to handle when things don't go exactly well. I kind of hope that's the growth that he went through, but I think he would say that his performance was underwhelming. But I'm a little underwhelmed by David Lee. We don't get to talk to him anymore. When there's news, I guess we get to talk to him. We heard last night, but
I do want you to mention on record that I asked to talk to him again last night with witnesses.
yes, I was
Okay.
there. David was there,
I didn't hear
but
anything.
yeah, I mean, I would have expected a little bit more as far as action and activity. I know it's tough. I understand that. I get it. But it's also underwhelming with the ownership response to things. I know it's in limbo and things are transitioning, but the club is just not the club that I want to be proud of yet. And I do think it's getting there, but not yet.
Do you think it's going in the right direction?
Yes, I do.
So I when I the reason I very much said building the base that can be built upon, or however I said that, probably anyway, was because I think David Lee knew that he was not going to be able to get enough quality players in on proper contracts
Right.
without overspending because of how bad they were. So you sign again. There's like 3 guys that were signed to 1-year contracts that are on league minimums for their age that could be let go at any time, and your cap hit is almost nothing. It's a rounding error for a decky, right? It's low. So they have space on the roster. They have space in the cap. They have space with GAM, TAM, whatever the hell it is nowadays. They have space with what an owner can contribute. They have a lot of these things. I still don't expect to see Maluk contribute a lot until next season, but maybe he does some in this window. I don't know. I think there's a lot of political things going on and um, things going on behind the scenes with ownership and all that stuff that we may never hear the full story on, but I think that's why. But I do think that David Lee built a roster that met the requirements of putting a team on the field, but also met the requirements of having the flexibility to, in this window, when you don't have to pay often transfer fees because players will be out of contract, you can go find those players. In our normal window, you have to get players from teams that those players are under contract, right? And you have to pay transfer fees usually, unless they're bad, unless they're hurt or whatever. Or Blorian, they signed him. He'll be out of contract in a couple days, right? And he'll be able to join the team. Other players, I think, might be there, and I know we're starting to get in. I'm starting to get into this other, but that's why I think the base was built. He has a framework, and he's brought in players that he wanted to, not for competing in this first 14 games, but for starting to compete in the next 20 games. And then going forward, that he thinks is a good team.
Yeah, of course, the jury's still out on all of that. We're gonna hopefully see the, building of this club more in the window. We'll talk about it here in a little bit, but we talked about Wiki. Maybe is he the man for the job? David, last night you said at the end of the press conference after the match with Wiki that you really like him. What is it about him that you're liking? What have you seen this first half from Raphael?
Oh, I just meant as a person. He seems really pleasant. I actually really I enjoy his press conferences, because I think he's smart. I think he's thoughtful in his answers. There's a mind at work there. And so I don't wanna hang out with the guy. He seems pretty cool. Peter, I felt like, and I've met Peter both as a member of the media and not, and he has a very New Jersey personality, so he doesn't come off as maybe as warm as, Wiki, and I think sometimes got very frustrated with the media. But Peter was also, I mean, he was a very nice guy, just in a very different way, very different vibes. Um, but
You
no,
know,
I just Rafa seems like a really nice dude.
I got a very cryptic text this week from Thad that said, Sperry asked the question. No, sorry, Sperry asked the question. And so, assuming, because this we were talking about desserts, I assumed that Thad was talking about that. So I responded. I said, "Are you talking about desserts?" And got no response. So Thad, what is his favorite dessert?
Cheesecake.
Just
That was about how he answered it.
that's it.
That
Nothing
sounds
else.
like a
We didn't
Wiki
put
answer, to
No
be
spec.
honest.
Okay. Well,
I don't think we know him well enough to like push for like, well, what type of cheesecake, man? Do you like a little drizzle of caramel, little pecans? I mean, we just don't, I don't think we are to that familiarity level. And most of this season has been bad enough that I've been asking him like every week, like, how do you fix this? How do you give him confidence? How do you do this? It's just been over the last week and a half or 2 weeks that it's like, okay, I'm starting to ask him little fun questions, right? And I asked him things like, are what are you doing when everybody's off? Do you get to take time off? Or are you going to just be, like always, plotting the whole time? He's like, well, I'm going back home to see family but I'll still be working. So
I will
things like that.
say, I don't know. Jury's still out on if he's the guy, right? But the team has improved,
It has.
and there's something to be said for that. Because if he completely lacked it, the team would not be improving. So he hasn't lost the locker room. Guys have gotten better. He's adapted. They've adapted. Whatever it is. Um, so there's hope.
That improvement started with us talking about maybe he wasn't the man for the job and he needed to make this team improve. So clearly we were part of that. Or the 6-0 loss had something to do. I don't know. Either way. But let's talk about the core player of the first half. Let's just frame it that way. We love our sponsor and Core Outdoor Equipment, a lot of quality outdoor equipment out there. This is the time of the year for outdoor equipment to be used. So check that out on their website. Um, Core player of the first half. Who's been our most important player? A guy that in no way will we get rid of this player. And should I say it can't be Decky to get more interesting? Carrie,
Yes.
Carrie. Okay, we'll say it can't be Decky.
okay,
Okay,
My
yeah, but
answer wasn't going to be Decky
but
anyway.
then anyone's replaceable, you know. So,
that is true. So Carrie, I've got to go to you first. Who has been the
um,
core player of the first half for Sporting Kansas City?
yeah, I mean, easy answer was Decky. But I was gonna say Calvin Harris for what I said earlier. Like, I don't know. We've really, if I think about just like moments that have made me happy in this half of the season, they've only really had the last 3 games, which was all thanks to Calvin Harris.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, Carrie. David, core player of the first half for you.
So my answer wasn't going to be Decky, and Decky's our best player, but he is not our most important player. Um, the song is our most important player, you know, and if you ask the players, they'll say that too. That's what Decky said. That's what LBJ said, that getting Zoe back, getting Zoe healthy, he does things that allow the team to play different and better. and he's crucial. And I mean, the results are kind of bearing that out.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Good point. We got two different answers so far. Thad, what do you got? Core player of the first half.
Say Cleveland. Say Stephen Cleveland.
I'm playing this game based upon I can't say something that somebody has already said.
Okay, fair enough.
And I was about to say Cleveland until David whispered it.
David,
That was
damn it.
Carrie. That was
David, he
Carrie.
better not take my answer, man. I'll be pissed.
That was Carrie.
That was not me. My voice may be deep, but it's not that deep.
I don't know. Right now, it might be.
It might be.
So since I just self-ruled myself out of having Cleveland, I will say Capita. He has not been the most clinical. He has not been always the best touch, but he is fast. He threatens back lines. And while he's also not the greatest defender in the world, he works his ass off on defense. He's coming back, and I know I have jokingly called him a Timu Timwa at some point, but the dude works his butt off, and he still is never, he hasn't had a preseason. He doesn't know what this team's supposed to do. He doesn't speak English, and he's going out there and figuring it out. So I would like to see what he can do after he's had a little preseason and really had some time to learn tactics and get to know people better. I mean, you do learn people by under fire, but still, it's better to have a preseason to do it. And so I think he's been an very important person.
As I mentioned last week, Thad, yeah, I think he's just showing who he is more now. He feels free to be himself a little bit more, and we're seeing the results from that for sure. All right, well, good. You didn't take my answer. Thank you. I'm going to say LBJ, simply because I can't say anybody else that we eliminated Ducky. But the good things about LBJ, I think it's been the same kind of with Capita, with Zoe in there. You're welcome, David. He has been able to be the player that he wants to be. A lot of passes, a lot of time on the ball, playing the kind of soccer that he wants to play. And that, he said in an interview with me that he knows that David Lee and Rafa Wicki want to play as well. That's what they're all here for, is that where we dominate the possession. But if you look from the moment he stepped on the pitch, number one, he wants to succeed and he wants his team to succeed. And he's been directing traffic out there when he's out there as well. And, he hasn't been the player that I want him to be quite yet, but I think he's going to be. But, he's never tired in his work rate and his desire for this team. And he gives it everything he's got while he's out there. And you can tell just by talking to him as well that he really cares about being successful.
And you want to give an extra shout out to Cleveland then, David, since I wouldn't use it after you said it?
No, I just thought it was funny.
Okay.
Carrie thought it was funny. Carrie said it.
So throughout this, and it was fun how you do these podcasts and ideas come out, right, guys? So we've talked about Capita, doing some good stuff. Calvin Harris doing some good stuff. Of course, Decky doing some good stuff. LBJ, Grover Cleveland Alexander. I mean, sorry, Stephen Cleveland. But it makes you think, listening to this, that we're not that bad off as a team, but we can get a whole lot better. So what do we expect from David Lee during this transfer window? The July 13th date is when the MLS transfer window opens. Most of Europe, and I believe South America, opens anywhere from June 15 to July 1st. We currently have 2 DPs on the roster and 1 under 22 initiative player. They said previously we were going with a 2 and 4 model. They can change that still. What are we going to see in this window? David, you and I talked last night about this a little bit. I asked you, what do we need to make this team better? And I think you rattled off 3 or 4 different positions. So I'll go to you first, David. What do you see as a top priority, or maybe the top 2 priorities for this club in that transfer window?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only player you couldn't improve on is Decky. We know they're not going to target a right winger. That's Capita. We know they're not going to target a holding mid. That's LBJ. I think based on kind of how the winter window went, we went after that Peruvian left back, allegedly. But left back, right back. I mean, that's I think got to be those are the obvious upgrades. That's the obvious room for improvement. Blorian's coming in, so if between Blorian, James, Borges if he gets healthy, um, Meyer's been okay on defense, not so good at the passing last night. Um, I don't know that they'll make a big push to sign another center back, or maybe they think they can take a swing and upgrade over, um, to have somebody they could pair with Blorian. But I would expect to see a winger targeted and outside backs targeted.
Okay, fair enough. I like Justin Reynolds. I think Jaden Reed has been, fair to mid-lane, solid back there. But yeah, definitely upgrades can happen there. Thad, you agree with David or you see some other needs?
No, I mean, I see those, and again, get a U-22 winger to challenge uh, Calvin Harris and Capita. Uh, I think David has I don't disagree with what most of David said there. I just don't know how many I don't know how many places they're looking to bring in. I have speculated on the number though. So,
Because you've heard something or overheard something?
well, I'm just going off of some casually mentioned things in a couple of cases, and a not casually thing mentioned in another case. For some reason, the number 5 keeps popping up. Wiki has used it in interviews, and I hope they bring in 5 players or something like that. Last night, Decky used it. He said, hopefully he said something like, "I hope they're signing 5 players in the next 7 days." But supposedly there was some kind of talk last night with David Lee and season ticket holders. We don't get to talk to him, but season ticket holders of some, I don't know how this happened, but he supposedly said 4 to 7 starters, 4 to 7 starter level players. And Balorian was not one of them, is what I was told. I wasn't there. I was not there, so I don't know. So
So it sounds like it'd be easier to pick out who on the starting lineup is staying versus
Decky. Dibs.
yeah,
Called that
I
one.
Decky, LBJ, because I don't think Wiki's going to go replace him right away, but he could find a partner for him, a different partner for him in the midfield that would improve.
Pita, that's 3, and then a 5th goalkeeper. I'm just kidding.
But don't challenge him. So again, I don't know those are right numbers, and I don't know. When people keep using those same numbers, I wonder if that means that they have actually signed some of them, and we just haven't heard them yet. Again, when I asked to talk to David Lee yesterday, it was very much, "Oh, you want to talk to David Lee? Well, you'll get to hear from him when we make an announcement." Okay. So I don't know if those numbers are accurate, but 5 popped up in multiple different interviews with different people, Wiki, Decky, I think there's been some other ones, and then the 4 to 7 comment that David Lee supposedly made. So, literally, if they sign 3 starter quality players in this window, I'm pretty happy.
So David, do you feel in some ways jealous of both Carrie and Thad? Because Thad gets these little tidbits of things that we don't get because he's, around the team a lot more than we are. Carrie has, the off to see the Wizards. She gets all these little things. She gets to talk with Orange Men and things like that. Do you feel a little jealous sometimes?
No.
No?
Am I supposed to?
Well, I thought maybe you would. I didn't know, David.
No, Thad's been doing this for a really long time.
He has.
And, he gets into cool spots, and Carrie's young and interesting, and my best days are way behind me. So, no, that makes a lot of sense.
All
I
right,
live
then.
vicariously through Carrie.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
got a targeted ad from her on Instagram the other day.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to see those pop up.
Yeah,
She's
I was like,
kind
I
of a
know
big
her.
deal,
Yeah.
So
I'm
Carrie,
happy I get to bask in her presence.
Big big deals and small packages.
Who are we signing over this window, Carrie? Because you probably know. I mean,
I don't know. What makes you think I know? I'm
I
just there
was
vibing.
I was just hoping. But anyway, what are your
We're gonna
thoughts?
sign the orange suit man, actually. Yeah, no, I mean, to what David said, to a T, heavy on the outside backs. I really like Reed, really don't like Davis. We've talked about that. And I do wanna mention that I think
Hater.
no, I am. That's fine. That's fine. Because he was a part of the side. I mean, it is a weak side. Whenever you get to Capita coming back and, he's not really used to defending yet. It's a pretty weak side, and that's what the side that they targeted on that first goal last night. But just because we get outside right back does not mean that Jake Davis should go into midfield. Just saying.
Wow. Hater.
Because
Hater.
listen, okay, I think about this from, like, a women's soccer perspective as well. Because like, you have Ellie Wheeler who plays right back as well, but she didn't play that in college, she played a forward in college. She played forward earlier today, and that was terrible. It wasn't bad, but it was not good, okay?
Carrie, have you ever
I
seen
think
the
it's
movie
because
Ladybugs?
no, I don't watch movies.
Do you think Jake Davis could be if we pulled a Ladybugs, do you think he'd be successful?
I don't. I don't know what ladybugs is.
Robert, Thad, do you wanna educate her?
But, anyways, so I think that he has been out of position for too long in that midfield. Uh, uh, eh, Out of position from what everyone is saying is the best position for him, which is midfield, and I just don't see it.
Fair enough. He's lost his way playing right back sometimes. Yep. Good point. Good point. Thad, any comments on that? Hater about Jake Davis?
He's rolling his eyes.
No, I still am a Jake Davis fan. He's been okay at right back, but he his best position was as an 8 in midfield. Whether he can get that back or not, I don't know, but he's been a good, faithful soldier in this outfit that has played where he's been needed, much like Kyrie Shelton was and stuff like that. But I would like to see Jake get some runouts in there.
A slightly less hyped Graham Zusi.
Oh, all right. So Jake Davis, Kyrie Shelton comparison. Interesting. All right. So I'm gonna give mine here. And I said this to David last night. I don't disagree with anything that any of you guys have said. And Thad, your 5 to 7 number is heartening. So that's good to hear. But Taylor Calhera has done a lot of the, roll up your sleeve work, occupies some space, but we've got to get somebody who's going to be a little more effective in that role if that's what we're going to do with that position. So I would like to see us go after a second, forward, third, whatever you want to call it, but someone that can be a little more effective, on the score sheet and maybe has a little bit more raw soccer ability than Taylor Calhera seems to have. Um, but otherwise, yeah, everything else that you mentioned for sure. But are those all going to be under 22 since we have 3 slots? Obviously, not all of them. But do you think we'll switch to the 3DP model? Have we heard any rumors of that, Thad? Or have you heard anything regarding that?
I've heard nothing, and again, even everything I say is cross between speculation and
Yeah,
overhearing other people talk about it stuff.
right.
Uh, I do. I want to defend Taylor Calhera a little bit. Yeah, he has missed some opportunities in this last couple 3 games since he's been starting. Like last night, he should have just shot that with his. I mean, he should have just shot right off the bat,
Yeah.
right? Maybe, and he took a touch, which allowed him to close him down, and he needed to be quicker with that. But he scored at every level. He's 23. He's not old for a striker. You know what I mean? Well, he's getting to where he needs to be started producing, but he's produced at uh, USL Championship level, which sometimes can be close to MLS level, as we have found out in the past few weeks. But anyway, I still not saying he should be gone or he should be the starter. I would love to have somebody else in there that is in that vein of doing that. And there's at least a couple guys down at the academy that I think will be also challenging for that in the future, but not right away.
Nice. Okay. Well, I think we all are hoping that this transfer window, this 2 months off, brings a lot of new blood into this squad and elevates them for the second half. We still have 14 matches to go, correct? And
20.
Is it 20? Okay.
We've played 14.
There we go. Thank you. How many
And there's
points are we out of a playoff spot right now?
A lot. But real quick, one of the things we talked about with LBJ last night in the locker room is that there is an acclimation period to this league.
For sure.
He mentioned how um I asked him what has like surprised you about the league, like, and he said how fast it is, that the whole game is just transitional. Whereas in Europe it's a lot slower, other than in Turkey. He said Turkey was just, you know, wind sprints, but um, we're gonna if we bring in people from outside MLS, um, there is a learning curve. It's a fast physical league with where you will play in, the snow in New England, and then you will play in Miami in August, and you have to go from New Jersey to LA and back, and it's hard. So, uh, whoever we bring in, I don't know if they're going to make, an immediate impact. I would bank on them not pulling a Nico Lodero and immediately vaulting us into contention.
well, the one hope would be that because they will have a spring training, mini training camp, is that they can adapt quicker than previous years when you'd bring some guy in the summer transfer window and they're like, "What the hell is going on here?" Um, Also with hopefully, because for these 20 games that they have left, the players that they are signing, they have like again, or Blorian should I have not heard, I don't know, but hopefully his visa's approved. I mean, hopefully he just shows up in a couple weeks and goes to spring training and starts learning everything. If they've been doing some of the due diligence behind the scene and they think that they can bring in 4 to 7 in this transfer window, some of those have to be done. I mean, you'd have to
Right.
think so, right? Uh, but one reason summer transfer windows have been bad in the past for Sporting and some other teams is like I figured it was last year or the year before because I was actually talking to Vlaco about it at one point because he's like, "Oh, they should just go get a player." I'm like, "Even if they bring in a player, there's only 9 games left for them to make a difference." This time, there's 20 games left to make a difference because of the World Cup and the change in the transfer window time frame. And so that will, you know, part of that was probably to start prepping for the calendar change, but there's so many games. Even if they only play 15 games, or start to integrate in those games, as long as they're here before they start playing games and they've got all that stuff straightened out, they can make a big difference. It's just how many of them and where and whether Wiki can integrate them fast enough.
Yeah, we're 9 points off the pace right now. 20 games, 9 points. I mean, that's doable, right? And, to your point, David, about what LBJ said, yeah, it's much more of a transition league, but that's not the game that Sporty wants to play. And I'm going to argue that MLS actually the quality of it because of that transitional play has really gone down this year. You see a lot of clubs, struggling. I think with that more transitional play, and I think the soccer has gotten worse in MLS
Less
this
pretty,
season. Yeah, for sure.
but that there is room to be that pretty team.
Yeah, exactly. I think that can be an effective tactic to go against that.
Yeah, and again, Sporting tried to be the pretty team for a lot of years. It's just they didn't have enough quality and they would get turned over and they didn't have enough speed to catch back up when
Yeah,
when they had breakaways.
yeah.
Don't give the ball up. Simplest answer.
Well, on that note, guys, we will close out segment 2 and head into a team who, if you're not careful, they will catch you on transition as well. That'd be our Kansas City Current. Talk about them and a few other details in segment 3. All right, so Carrie, Thad, you're both at the current match today. I caught about probably half an hour of it on television today. Took down the Portland Thorns, who were sitting in first place at the beginning of the match. They are no longer, thanks to a 3-0 win by the Current. Alo Labanta, Temwa Chiwinga, and Haley Hopkins, the goal scorers for the Current today. I'll go to you first, Carrie. What was the feel did you really throw somebody off the streetcar that was so crowded getting to the match, or how did that go today?
No, no, I actually walked to the match, and then was like, let's just see how bad it's gonna be, like, getting back, and it was pretty hot by the time the game ended, so I think it was the wait time was probably about the same amount of time it would have taken to walk back to my place, so
Okay.
it was a trade-off. Um, I'm sure they'll get better. I think, Kansas City has already apologized for and are trying to figure out what like, the city of Kansas City is trying to figure out how they can better that experience, especially since they didn't have any buses back. They just cut those completely.
Right.
Mm,
Yeah.
but the vibes were good, and I'm glad that David is back because as soon as that game ended, he was in our Slack asking Thad how he feels about the current, taking out top of the table. But before that, I will say the current one, but at what cost? Because the Utah Royals are now in first place, and that sucks.
You don't like Utah?
No, not at all. They stole our team.
Different ownership.
And then we stole it back, didn't we?
Yeah, I still don't like them. They still stole the team.
Fair
Well,
enough.
Thad, last week I asked you what would make you happy, and you were like beating a team that doesn't suck, and then we beat Portland 3-1. So, like, suck it? Is that the right? Is that we finally? I mean, are you a believer now?
Define believer.
So no.
Okay, well, fine. What will make you happy, Thad?
Going
How
back
many
in time
wins does it
and
take?
not hiring Armis and not losing Claire Hutton.
What if Armis wins the NWSL Cup without Claire Hutton? Is that going to be good enough for you? Okay.
Do you actually think it's going to happen, though?
I mean, crazy things have happened before.
It has.
Unfortunately, all we have to do is get to at least 8th place at the end of the game, at the end of the season.
Yeah. Oh, I think they'll make the playoffs. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
If Tim was
There's
healthy.
so much talent on the team.
Yeah.
Armis even talked today about, the team just plays and doesn't need a coach anymore. That may be why they're winning.
Yeah, that was an odd quote from him.
There's a lot of odd quotes from him. He is a nice guy, though.
That's fair. That is one of his more strange ones. Why would you admit to that? That you're not needed at your job. In a job force that is getting taken over by AI, and you can't. Why would you say that?
Only one team is using AI. Just Portland.
Nope.
No, Seattle.
Seattle, sorry. Well, same thing.
Good try.
Same thing.
except-
Same thing.
I hope no Pacific Northwest people are listening to this pod. Anyway, but the current do sit in 6th place right now. 6 wins, 5 losses, 18 points. So they're within that range, Carrie.
Yeah, they are. And today, honestly, it did kind of feel like a tale of two halves. It'd be really nice if a Kansas City soccer team doesn't go down in the first 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
We'd love that. But I think Portland could have had a lot more with all the breakaways that Sophia Wilson had in that first half. And it was almost like, all right, all we have to do is make it to the second half and they can refresh, figure out a new game plan. And they did.
Got to give kudos to Lowe for that nice finish, though, to draw the game level. That's, kind of, we were talking earlier, that's kind of what I'd like to see Taylor Calhara or Calvin Harris do a little bit more often. It's a nice finish.
Yeah, Lowe had a good game. She got that goal. She was in a lot of good positions. She almost killed Ali Sentner by a tackle. It was like a flying body drop or something. I'm not even sure what the right term there. She jumped and flew into Ali and just landed on her.
I think she forgot that Ali is like her height.
Yeah. She's
It is
used to
not-
jumping on the tall players, super strong
Sharples.
players.
Yeah.
And again, they played well today. And David's going to oh, are you a believer or whatever? They can play well. And they beat Portland. Could have went either way, but that's soccer. You take your wins. And they did good.
We got a Hopkins goal.
Did.
Look, Bailey backers may not be back, but Hopkins fan, we gotta find out something for for her crew.
Hype
but
and Haley.
I
Hype
just
and
can't believe
Haley's.
I just can't believe Thad
We're back.
is both sidesing a win.
Have you met me?
Yeah. Yeah, I have. I've even seen a picture of you without the mustache.
I showed him some pictures from like the mid '80s last night.
It was
Very
interesting. And then David
small
showed me
and
a
poor
picture.
quality.
How long ago was that picture, David?
Yeah, I don't know. I was in high school. It was my Jufro. I had a thick head of curly Jewish hair. It was cool. Well,
Nice.
I am very happy that the current one, I don't care who coaches them as long as they are winning. And as long as they have a healthy Timwa, they are dangerous. And it's fun to watch them win games, no matter how. It's extra fun seeing Thad be upset about it.
Who said I was upset? I don't think I said that.
Okay, you
No,
never
we've all
said
been
I am
talking about it.
upset,
Yeah.
but
We're all talking about it, Thad.
Then speak factually.
We're going to have an intervention in the next episode.
So we know the MLS break is nearly 2 months. How long is the NWSL? And they've got one more game till then, right?
yes.
They play Boston next weekend.
Say the name right.
It's not Boss Nation FC.
It will always be Boz Nation FC, the worst team name of all time.
I think we with the website name, toomanyballs.com.
Yeah.
Never forget.
Yeah, there's no escaping that.
I'm surprised they thought they were going to get away with that.
Yeah.
I want to
Or
know
did
how
they?
much.
I don't think they did think they were getting away with it. They just did it to get the hype.
I just want to know how much they paid a marketing team to come up with it. Like some advertiser was like, guys, you should name the team Boz Nation FC. Please hand me $300,000.
But it worked. Everybody heard about them. Between that and the website, everybody talked about them. It worked. Whether you liked it, it worked. That's I don't
There was
think
no
anybody.
bad. I mean, there was bad publicity, but Boston said, "Let's go for it."
And they changed it, and that's the name they have, and everybody still knows who they are. Do you remember how Portland women's team some of their first advertising slogans? Probably not, because you were like,
No, I was in elementary school.
yeah, it was not appropriate for you then, because they were going one of their catch slogans when they first started was "Feeling Thorny."
Wow.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
It got killed after a not too long time period.
I would hope so.
But Boston isn't the first team to change their name coming out. Like, Louisville's was so bad that they were like, all right, we'll also roll it back, because it used to be Proof Louisville FC.
Well, I mean,
The,
is that any worse than the MLS starting off with some of the names that they had? The Tampa Bay Mutiny and all those type of things, because so many people have rebranded since then.
Oh, you be nice to Tampa Bay. They lost their team.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, but I don't know if in like 20 years if we're gonna look back and be like, yeah, Proof Louisville FC was a great name. They should have stuck with it.
Like Tampa Bay Mutiny goes with, the Dallas Burn and like the whole vibe of MLS 1.0.
What was the Dallas Burn about? Why did they choose Burn? What's the story on that?
It's
hot
obvious
in Texas.
It's obvious, Robert.
Is that it?
It had a horse with fire. Okay, let it be what it is.
That's pretty lame.
Yeah, I mean, Boz Nation and Proof Louisville got nothing on the Tampa Bay Mutiny and the Dallas Burn. And what was the Miami team?
Miami FC.
Was it just Miami FC?
Yep.
No, it was Miami Fusion?
Yeah, Fusion. Yeah. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right.
Get out of here.
Anyways, the NWSL World Cup break is only a month long. So they'll come back, or they'll play Boss Nation, not Boss Nation.
Say it. Say
Gosh
it.
darn it, David. They play Boss Nation next Saturday, and then they will play June 26th, and that's the Challenge Cup against Gotham in Columbus. Yeah. And then regular season play starts back up on Friday, July 3rd.
And where are the current training while the Netherlands are here? They're at their second facility, correct?
That's right next to their normal one. They're training in the same place.
Right, but the lead in on that is have we figured out where Sporting are training during this World Cup break yet?
Yeah.
With Messi.
And?
Not
We
sure
got
if
the-
it's been announced.
I don't think it has, because obviously the Wizards has a video coming out about it. So
So Thad and Carrie know.
no, I don't know. You think they tell us things?
Carrie-
Or obviously the Wizards? No, it's we were gonna go to a bunch of, when we were down so bad and we didn't have players, we sent out a meme that said, like, if you own a Sporting KC jersey, show up at this park at this time, whatever. Get to practice now. If
Let's
you're
just say it's
Sporting Kansas
not-
City, be in our backyard for practice.
They have trained in a lot of weird places in their time, but the Sprint campus
Yeah.
at 119th and Knoll or Row, whatever that is. They've trained there for a while. One summer, they've trained at Park. They've trained a lot of different places. They were actually looking at one point to go to some facility in like California and just having a true mini camp there.
Okay.
Or a summer preseason camp kind of situation there. But I think they do have, they're staying in Kansas City, is my understanding. I don't want to say where because I don't think it's like announced, or it might not be final, or there's always weird considerations.
Carrie,
Thad?
do you think we could rebrand the other NWSL teams for like the banter? Like instead of Gotham, can we call them like female Metro Stars? They're the New York
Well,
team.
that makes him sound cool, though.
The Metro Stars? They're like a whole meme for
Yeah.
never winning anything.
Oh, we could. I would like Red Bulls better than Metro Stars. Why don't we just like keep with them with Sky Blue FC? That was what they were before they became Gotham.
At least
Sky
they
Blue
have
is stupid.
At least Gotham kind of has a nickname though, the Bats, right?
Yeah, you're making them sound cooler though.
I'm just saying, at least they have a nickname.
I
The
know.
Current doesn't have anything. Most of the
Current have women first. Everything.
that they do.
That's their nickname. Women's first.
That's what the American teams are missing. Like in Europe, like Liverpool are the Reds and Man United are the Red Devils and whatever. What's Sporting KC? What the Wizards, I guess, is
Yeah, of
ours.
course.
But that's a MLS 1.0 throwback. Like what's Miami FC or Inter Miami FC? The Herons, I guess. Yeah,
Messi. Oh,
the Messies.
Pretty much.
But LAFC, Robert.
Yeah, I don't know who they are actually.
Yeah, I don't know if they have a nickname. They got to, right?
I mean, LAFC technically is just a nickname. It's shortened.
Maybe the Falcons.
Oh, because of the bird before they get matches.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know why that got chosen as a thing.
Because of Will Ferrell.
The
Is he a
Falcon?
big Falcon fan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has a falcon of his own. It's actually his falcon. Yeah. He's a falconer.
Okay,
So good
didn't
for
know
Will
that.
Ferrell. Yeah.
Farrell's Falcons.
well, should we talk about how Lionel Messi did his hamstring and might not show up till the knockout rounds of the World Cup?
That would be kind of bummer because I would see him on the first game.
All right. To wrap things up, guys, we've got Crazy MLS scores this week. DC Montreal 4-4, Cincinnati 6-2 over Orlando. And as we were getting ready to record tonight, we had a crazy match going on in Miami between Miami and Philadelphia, the Supporter Shields winners last year, who were near the bottom of the league this year. 6-4 final. Miami winning that one. They were down, I think, at one point 2-0, maybe 3-0, but I think a goal was way off for Philadelphia. But crazy match. Philadelphia had three PKs in the match. And Mr. Messi may have pulled his hamstring as well. He actually left the game. He took a free kick and immediately started holding his hamstring on his left leg, I believe, and left the match. So Argentina fans are probably holding their breath right now to find out what's going on with that. But anything else in the soccer world that we saw this weekend that is worthy of commenting on?
In NWSL, Bay FC had 2 red cards.
For
Sweet.
hair pulling? Did somebody pull hair?
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
No, but one of them was former KC Current goalkeeper Jordan Silkowitz just jumping up and blocking a ball about 15 feet out of her box.
Did it save a goal?
Clear and obvious.
I don't know if it saved a goal, but it was at least trying to.
And it let Chicago win. Actually, it let Chicago get a goal since, like, them playing us.
So, we haven't talked about this club lately that I recall, and certainly not on this podcast. But, if the World Cup doesn't go well because Poach pulled in the wrong roster, and we will talk about that later this week on our Red, White, and Blue Shades podcast.
Shades of red, white, and blue.
Yes,
Shades of
yes.
red, white, and blue.
Right, yeah.
You gave me crap for saying it wrong the other day.
So if we come out of the World Cup window, we're not happy with Sporting's transfer window. The Current, maybe lose their last match before the window. We're just not in a good mood. At least we get to go play St. Louis and hopefully kick them in the ass in their place when we come back from the window. So we can look forward to that.
A photographer from St. Louis offered a player from over there, says, "Oh, he's not playing and he's a MLS quality player. You guys should get him." And I'm like, "He's played for St. Louis. No thanks."
Disqualification, huh?
Well, not necessarily disqualification, but pretty close to it. The TST is getting ready to start up.
Uh-huh. Tell us more, Thad.
Well, there's a lot. There would be a lot to talk about. That could be its own segment, but I think there's games starting in like a couple, 3 days, like the 27th.
All David wants to know is Benny Feilhaber on any of the squads?
Not that I know of, but I would not rule it out. I'm sure Mike will have some kind of post about it because, Mike has already done the research to see who's on all the teams. He found CJ Sapong was on Hope Solo's team.
Oh, interesting.
I forgot all about Hope Solo. Man.
Does anybody remember CJ Sapong serenading Hope Solo after practice one day?
Yes, there's a video of it on US Soccer, I'm pretty sure.
It was odd.
Imagine so.
The KC Current 2 have a team in there.
Okay.
Somebody sent me a link to their team and goes, "I know we're old, but my God, those kids, they're kids." I'm like, yeah, there's like 15 and 16-year-olds on that team. Some of them are pretty good.
Are there any Brewers?
There is a Brewer.
Okay.
Not Malia, but Michaela.
She has a younger,
maybe?
yeah. I was going to say that's the only 14-year-old in the system that I know.
I'm not sure if she's on the TST team, but she's on the Current 2 team. The Claire something, number 45 for the Current 2.
Hutton.
She's on there. Sam Ogden, I think.
Sam, not Hutton. Sorry, Claire, not
Claire,
Hutton.
not Hutton. Yeah.
So, Carrie Robinson, I ran into Kevin Ellis before the match last night at Sporting Kansas City Stadium. Just a brief hello, how you doing, etc. You and Thad both ran into another former Sporting Kansas City player who is now playing a division up. Venezia, got promoted. Gianluca Busio, you guys ran into. How is Mr. Busio doing?
Caught him in the show club. He's doing good. They talked about, my friend and him talked about Pro Rel, the new stadium that Venezia is building. And then I told him that I went to my first Serie B game. And he questioned why I picked Juve Stabia, which is a very beaten up town, kind of in a beaten up stadium. And he said he hates playing there.
Is that the ticket you could afford? Is that why you ended up
No,
going there?
it was the closest one when I was in Naples. It was kind of halfway between Naples and Pompeii.
So did you mention at all? I mean, he really wasn't in consideration as far as we know for a World Cup slot, but was there any discussion regarding that? Okay, probably a good choice.
Yeah. He just saw me because he was sitting down behind the south or in front of the south stand, and he actually came over to me and shook hand, and we talked for just a minute, and that's congratulations for getting promoted, and he's like, yeah, we just got to stay there. It's very casual, nothing too deep.
I think there was more talk about World Cup rosters with Ethan Horvath and the Cauldron.
I would imagine so.
That's why. After the game, he turned to the south stand and did a little talk, like taunting them thing. And I'm like, I didn't hear any
Really?
stuff from the south stand, but then he would have been probably farther over than I would have heard.
All right.
I took a Snapchat picture because you can do like dual camera. So I had like a zoomed in picture of like my face taking the photo and a picture of him, and it just says two people that didn't make the 2026 World Cup roster looking at each other.
Sweet. Well, if Cody were here, he would be asking Thad for something prophetic. I am not going to do that. I'm going to ask David. David, anything prophetic as we head into the World Cup here in Kansas City and the World Cup break for MLS and one more match for the Current before they hit their break? What do you got?
The U.S. national team will get out of the group stage. Brazil will get out of the group stage. Both will break my heart. We will sign some players over the summer transfer window. And at least one former Sporting Kansas City draft pick will play in TST.
And Carrie Robinson will move on to CBS Golazo by the end of the summer.
No, Allie had to take steps. Carrie's going to take steps too, but eventually.
I barely have a voice. I will regain my voice by the end of the summer.
We're 3 years away from Carrie and Thierry Henry and Big Meeks and who's the Scouser who's on the CBS Champions League show. It's your team, Robert. Carragher?
Jamie Carragher?
Yeah. Carrie's going to be hosting. She's going to take over for Kate Abdo.
Well, Joss and I are working with Copa 90 right now for Kansas City Media for the World Cup. So
nice.
Not quite CBS Golazo, but Copa 90. It's close enough.
There you go. On the way up. All right. Again, like, subscribe, give us your thoughts. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us what you do like. If anything, support core equipment, outdoor equipment. And we will see y'all next time.
Hope Cody's imaginary date went well.
Why should it be any different than the real ones?
Sipping back on empty can. I don't give a damn if it's 9 a.m. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer, whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking. skipper has just been sent off. Supporters strong have all gone soft. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking.